be as brief as the ambassador. Don't be as brief as the ambassador.
Exactly.
He was too brief.
Thank you to the family of His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki, the organizing committee, the panelists, and all of us that have attended this second lecture. Good afternoon. I'll try to copy Ambassador Mudaura. But let me say this, and indeed I intend to be extremely brief, because many people may not think, when I speak in the presence of Norman Nyaga, my good friend Mzee Joe Consolo Munyao, when I claim to be old, they always laugh at me. They think I'm a small boy. Now that I'm also claiming to be old, in that for the longest time, even when I was a young man, Norman, even as a student in high school, there's only one person in the Kenyan political leadership that I always loved to one day meet. It was President Mwai Kibaki. But because we have been told quite some exciting stuff by the panelists, Mzee Munyao, and now Ambassador Mudaura, I want to just pick one point, not about his eloquence and his capacity to debate any topic in Parliament, which I found quite unique, but it's something that I think, for me, I emulate from President Mwai Kibaki. We've talked about the many gifts that he has left this country. Talked about Vision 2030. And my worry is just that as it comes to an end, we may get into some darkness. His Excellency Rigathi has always been telling people that whenever it gets very dark, it's just about dawn. You're just about to get to some light. But I fear for the country if it gets too dark. This document that at every time, and it's a dictator, before you take up any state job, you must swear by the Constitution to defend it, to uphold it, to protect it. As my brother Eugene pointed out, dedicated the whole chapter 6. But know what? Actually, you don't need to read chapter 6. You just need to follow the public life of the longest serving member of parliament so far in this country, Mwai Kibaki. Chapter 6 is on leadership and integrity. How it is that somebody could have been in public life, in politics, that long, and to date, you don't hear anybody saying, oh, they planned this, they planned Thika Highway, but in the process of planning Thika Highway, there was this which was supposed to sort out some things. This, for me, is extremely important. Even as we read that chapter 6 on leadership and integrity. We've been told about ICT. How I wish we all in leadership could borrow a leaf that when we come up with projects, public projects, we don't do so because we have hidden private interests in there. Because virtually everything we do these days, as you go through the documents, you come to realize, oh, there's something here which is not very clear. How is it that President Mwai Kibaki went through it, Minister for Finance, Minister for Health, Assistant Minister, but you can't hear. And in those very critical dockets, to date, you cannot see or hear what we hear today. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, whether you read chapter 6, read about President Mwai Kibaki to know what it is. When we talk about good governance, when we talk about integrity in public leadership, in office, you just need to read the history of Mwai Kibaki. Then you can read chapter 6 as kind of a lullaby, because when you read the history of Mwai Kibaki, then integrity in public leadership, in public office, will become so clear to you that you don't need to read anything else. Many of you, I'm sure, are religious people, either Muslims or Christians or Hindus. You know, virtues, the virtues of integrity, honesty. I think there's a lot that we can learn just by reading the life of President Mwai Kibaki, because it amazes me how somebody could have been in leadership, rising to the highest office, and you still cannot hear anything, not touching even on his family, not touching him, not even his close friends. It speaks volumes. That is the legacy of Mwai Kibaki that I live with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Tumeshukuru sana. Ambassador Mudhaura talked about housing that Mwai Kibaki did, and it triggered my mind when William Ruto brought the affordable housing and there was outcry out there. People are saying they be left alone to do their own houses. And I had a conversation with him, and he says, no, we need houses. And I told him, Mwai Kibaki did a lot of housing, but not the actual construction. The government did not have a housing program. All Mwai Kibaki did was to open up the bypasses, provide infrastructure in terms of sewage, electricity, and water. And the private sector, on its own, build houses all over Nairobi. And they are there for everybody to see. There is no need for government to compete with the private sector to put up houses. The work of government is not to do houses, it's to provide services. And of course, he said, I'm not Mwai Kibaki, I will do things differently. So one of the things we intend to do, those of us who are like-minded who want to have a regime change in 2027, is to scrap the housing levy and reinstate the housing initiative to the private sector by government just providing services. Just do roads, water, open up, and things will just come up on their own. Again, I must say, I went to see Mwai Kibaki in 1988. I was a student leader at the University of Nairobi. I was the chairman of the Nyeri University Student Association. And through my then member of parliament, the late MATIANG'I, I sought an appointment to see the vice president. And I went to his office in Jogo House. And we had a lot of discussion, and he wanted to know what are my ambitions, and I told him I'm interested in business. I had thought he would give me some money to start the business. Not Mwai Kibaki. He went on his shelf, behind him, there were many books. And he looked through, produced one book and gave it to me. That book, the author is called Jonathan Black. It's called The Oil. He said, if you want to do business, go and read this book, you'll be a good businessman. That is his mentorship, and today I'm a good businessman, instead of tokenism. Judy, please work quickly to finish the mausoleum in Othaya, because much as we are having this ceremony here, the villagers back home would like to celebrate Mzee, and they would like to come and remember him. And since we cannot bring them here to Nairobi to listen to Professor Kagwanja and foreign policy, they would just like to come to Othaya just to remember the old man for what he did for the people of Othaya, for what he did for the people of this country. Professor Kagwanja, thank you. On the foreign policy, you have told us Mwai Kibaki, his foreign policy was based on the best interest for this country. The other day I talked about our foreign policy in Sudan that is driven by commercial interest. And I saw one of the Root of Flower girls yesterday trying to lecture me that I shouldn't talk about it because I saw to some constitution. The constitution that I and Muturi saw to is to do the right thing and to keep the law. It's not to enable other countries to buy arms to kill children. And Eugene Wamalwa, you know, we are looking at what is happening.